And when I went to Germany for the first time 14 years ago, that was one of the first things that I noticed, that kids were kids in Germany. And over the years, I feel in America, kids have become very much involved in virtual world rather than the real world. I saw so many kids in Germany, even to this day, they ride bikes, they go out and play in the street, they will go play in the park, and they will play a soccer game with their friends. And none of that happens in California, at least. Hi guys, welcome back to Stephan. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so and help our channel grow. I feel that there is a huge disconnect when it comes to parents and their children in America. And yet, if you ask most of these parents in the USA, they will tell you that they have done anything and everything possible for their child, and therefore they fail to understand why this disconnect develops. The irony of all of this is that I believe this disconnect happens because parents do too much for their child. I was a bit hesitant in making this video because I am not a parent, and it is completely unfair for someone to make a judgment on a subject that they are not fully experienced with. So I want to clarify that I am not making this video to share a judgment, but it is only to share my experience in witnessing parenting in America versus how it's done in Germany. A lot of the parents that I know in USA seem to complain consistently of how they've done so much for their child, but yet when the child gets older, they are not as independent as they had hoped for the child to be, or when they get even older into adulthood, that they are still so dependent on their parent, yet there's an emotional disconnect. And that is why I wanted to explore this video today collectively, to put this out there, this message out there, and also my thought out there, to see the differences and kind of explore the idea of why is that? Because I do see differences between German parenting and how kids grow up to be a bit different in Germany versus how they are in USA. And then parents also, how the parenting styles are so different between Germany and USA, because I believe that that plays a huge role in how the child develops into adulthood. In my experience, German kids are very different than American kids. German kids that I've witnessed seem to be a bit more independent and a bit more worldly. And also they seem to be a bit more street smart. I know that may have a different connotation in Germany, but they seem to be a bit more comfortable in a variety of situations. Whereas American kids, for the most part, from what I witnessed, seem to be a bit more dependent on their parents. In short, German parents do not smother their children. German parents will give them rules and show them discipline, but at the same time, they also let them explore the world around them. And this allows for the children to create their own set of boundaries. The families that I've gotten to know in Germany, the parents generally tend to encourage their kids to go out and play in the playground and go play with the neighborhood kids and make friends and explore basically the world around them as a child. And with this, I believe the child becomes a bit more responsible. They start to explore the world around them in a very safe way. And when I went to Germany for the first time 14 years ago, that was one of the first things that I noticed, that kids were kids in Germany. And over the years, I feel in America, kids have become very much involved in virtual world rather than the real world. I saw so many kids in Germany, even to this day, they ride bikes, they go out and play in the street, they will go play in the park, and they will play a soccer game with their friends. And none of that happens in California, at least. On the contrary, in USA, I've seen a lot of parents smother their child to death, that they will do everything for their child. They will give the child anything and everything, except they won't have the actual childhood. So that is one of the things I wanted to look at, is why do American parents overdo everything for their child? If we look at the population of America, it is generally made up of immigrants. And I think that plays a huge role into this mentality of overdoing it for your child. In my experience, when immigrants come to this country, they are bombarded with this being the land of opportunity. And when someone who comes from a society where not everything and anything is possible, then they are overwhelmed and they want to give their children everything possible that they can, because now literally they can, and they do it. And through this process, a lot of these parents will become very involved with their child's life, to the point that the parents actually start affecting the child's development in so many different areas that they don't even realize. Everything becomes a lot more competitive and narrow. And through all of this, the parent becomes very protective of their child. Now, here in USA, I know a lot of people that are my age or a little bit older than me that have children, and none of those children, like literally none of those children, have friends that they can actually go out and play with. A lot of the parents in America become so focused in their children's life that they want the best of everything. They want the best school, they want private schools, then they will guide their children to go to the best universities. They will guide their children or influence them in deciding which career path they will choose. And in all of this, other factors also develop, such as they will buy the best of everything for their children, from clothing to new gadgets and iPads and MacBook Pros. And I feel that is why a lot of these children start developing socioeconomic statuses at such an early age, because they start comparing what they have versus what their peers at school will have. I remember Stephan had asked me a while ago, movies like Mean Girls, for example, this can't happen in real life. This is just a made up thing. And I told him, I was like, no, this is exactly what happens. When I was growing up, it wasn't this bad, but that is exactly how my high school was. There are little cliques and people will compare who has the best of clothing and who is more beautiful and so and so. And I was bullied in school because I didn't have the luxury of buying nice clothes. So I was called the blue light special kid. And if you don't know what blue light special is, because if you're watching this in Germany, then you can Google it. I think that would still come up in Google somehow. But yeah, so I was the blue light special kid because I wore clothes from the sale rack at Kmart. Kids in Germany, when they become adults, they have the basic skill set in life to actually go out and find a job and live independently from their parents, and they're able to do this on their own. Now in USA, on the other hand, I feel like the child finally gets to be on their own when they actually go to university. And this cliche life of a university kid in America is real. Now they're finally living their childhood in a way. Instead of playing with toys, now they're playing with alcohol, sex, and drugs. Now, I know this may sound like a blanket statement, but this happens a lot. And these kids in America don't really get an opportunity to explore the real world on their own until they actually graduate from university. In my generation, everyone that I knew, my peers that went to university, life worked out for them. But I personally feel a bit different about the newer generation because I think parents in USA are now far more protective of their children and far more smothering to their children than they ever were before. This is what I have for you today. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. If you have children or what you've experienced as a child growing up in USA versus in Germany, and if I've said anything incorrectly or if I've said anything to offend anyone, that was not my intent. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.